And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Food, it impacts all parts of our daily life. It isn't about only feeling full and satisfied, it's also about feeling connected to the community and belonging. We begin today's Open Connection with the president of the Kitimat Food Bank, Marjorie Phelps.
Well, I've been president for over 20 years, and there's been a lot of changes in our location, as well as the numbers of clients that we have, and the items that we give out, especially since COVID.
What are some of those items that always seem to be desperate in need at the food bank?
It's a cereal, peanut butter, canned fruit, sidekicks, hamburger helper, those kinds of items that we kind of run out of once in a while, especially cereal. We always need toilet paper, paper towels, those kinds of items. Baby food, we really don't have many babies, but we have a connection with the Healthy Babies group. So if we do get baby food and they need it, we give it to them to give out. They see more babies than we do.
Were you able to be down there at the fundraiser with Green, and how was it?
It was actually very successful. And I think the money that came in was not as big as last year, but times were hard on Kitimat during the last year.
When an event like that happens, tell me about some of the surprises that you had over the years when it comes to doing a fundraiser like this.
I think the surprises is the people who come and contribute and don't realize that the need is there. And some people actually think that the stores supply all the food that comes in. And while they are very generous to us, both of the big stores here in Kitimat, they don't supply it free. They give us good deals, but some of our clients really thought that the food was actually donated by the stores.
You don't do this all yourself, right? You have some helpers?
Oh, I have quite a good crowd working with us. We have an executive of 7, and then every week there's a different church comes in. It's not run by the churches, but the churches supply the volunteers every week. So I don't have to worry about, if we have enough volunteers to come in. So that's all done by other people.
And if someone wanted to say, hey, I want to help out, how would they go about doing that?
They have to come in and they have to fill in a volunteer form. And we just put them on a list. And if they belong to a certain church, we can put them with them. But you don't have to belong to a church to volunteer at the food bank, not at all. So, but because of COVID, we have really limited the number of volunteers that come into our food bank. And you have to be double vaccinated to even come through the door.
If someone wanted to participate or actually utilize what's at the food bank, how do they actually go about doing that?
We are open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3, and they just come in and sign up. We don't ask very many questions, and we don't ask any monetary questions at all. We're one of the very few food banks who do not do that. So really, you just come in, tell us how many people are in your family. We do ask for their care card numbers. And basically, that's it. There's so many people that come in and help out. And, people walking by will ask how we're doing. And like I say, the food drives, they're always participating in them, and we get lots of donations. So as a community, we do really well.
And is there anything I might have missed that you'd like to add?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to just let you know is that our numbers have increased so much over the last 2 or 3 months. And our Christmas hampers have gone up to, we're at 300 now. We know there will be a few more. That's the highest that I ever remember from the times that I've been involved in the food bank. So there is quite a need out there. Not sure why in the last couple of months it has increased, like about 30 clients at least in the last 2 months for sure. Like last month we gave her 180, we had 182 clients come in, and that's families. And we had 20 families who came in and asked for their December hamper early. So people are hurting, they're still hurting.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. No Frills is a chain of Canadian grocery stores that represent a unique way about thinking about grocery. No Frills have supported local communities, and the names of local owners are included in the store name to show this fact. Let us rejoin the conversation with Kyle from Kyle's No Frills.
Our food bank fundraiser, it's a multiple of things that come together over the holidays. And it starts off on my end with what I call the biggest haul of them all. And it's where I go to like the other local businesses in our town and I get them to sponsor. It's a $200 sponsorship, and the business can buy multiple sponsorships. And why I do that is we have this jumbo hauler cart at our store. It's almost like a picture, a stretch limo of a regular shopping cart. And in order to fill that up with what a normal family or the food bank would need, we can do a heaping cart for almost $200. So before COVID, we were actually filling a cart and presenting it to the food bank in terms of goods. But however, since the pandemic started, we've been doing monetary donations, so just sticking with the $200 cash. But anyway, I get that ball rolling early on, and then that builds and builds. Some more businesses come on, even local families do the $200 sponsorship package. And then, like what just happened on Saturday, is we actually have the event at the store. So we do a big push at the store, and it's almost like a midway point. I wouldn't call it the finale, but it's like the midway point of our food bank fundraiser for the Christmas season. And we do something with, so it's biggest haul of them all combined with Cram the Cruiser. We get the RCMP involved. The sharing tree with Green Ball on the radio station. So there's a multiple things that happen on Saturday, and we really try to get the word out that we're fundraising, and we collect that day as well. But really, I guess the finale is Christmas Eve. That's when we'll know our totals and everything like that. But yeah, so we're still fundraising up until Christmas Eve. So it's not a one-day event. It's almost like a 2 or 3 month long fundraiser for us if you combine all the aspects.
How has the community of Kitimat responded to these fundraising events?
Every year is the same. Kitimat surprises me and blows, just always goes above and beyond, and there's tons of generosity. It's a town like no other. That's all I can describe it as, is like there's people just willing to help out, and whether it's a box of KD or we've had donations a couple $1,000s from certain businesses. So yeah, it's incredible support from all aspects of the community.
Now, if someone wanted to donate to the cause, how would they go about reaching out to you guys?
The best way, is to come down to Kitimat, come to the store. We're still accepting donations, like I said, monetary, or we were accepting non-perishable food items still. So whatever you can give. We're doing a minimum of like $2 at the tills, but we can go up from there, and we'll accept anything in non-perishable, or even things people don't think the food bank might need. Toilet paper, coffee. Everyone kind of gravitates towards the pasta sauce canned goods type of thing, but they need a wider spectrum of goods, which is why we really promote monetary or gift cards. So then the food bank can get what they need when they need it, instead of, there's a lot of, like, I deal with the food bank quite often, and one thing I hear a lot is like close to date, this is coming up. So they're constantly worried about stuff spoiling, whereas if we get them gift cards or monetary cash, they can buy as they need and not have to struggle so much. Stay tuned on my Facebook page, and we'll get the total results posted sometime around Christmas Eve on what we've accumulated. And
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. On March 23, 1964, Skinner Broadcasters, which was founded in 1960 by J. Fred Weber, opened CKTK on 2:30 a.m. before moving to 97.7 in 2004. Let us rejoin the conversation as Green Ball shares about the early days of the event.
We raised about maybe $2,000. RCMP, of course, they did an amazing job with standing out in the cold. Although it was a beautiful, perfectly wonderful day, but it's still cold. But they did an awesome job. And people, of course, the citizens came out and donated lots and lots of food and toys, and yeah, successful, I would say.
You're usually on air at the same time, kind of promoting and letting people know what's going on. But with COVID, you had to do things a little differently this year. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, we, it's difficult in that we didn't have the microphones there, and that, so we were basically operating from my phone, and you know what that's like. It's just not the same, right, as having the microphones and or being in the studio even.
What was the feedback that you were getting from the people there in Kitimat?
Well, people always, they're absolutely wonderful. You know, they do support the food bank, and we could talk a little bit about the history, if you want, Robert, from when we started. It was back in the day, my goodness, in the early 80s, when we actually started with this drive, with the campaign or the appeal, by going live on air with it. Before that, in the late 70s, I mean, we just had a tree and people came in and donated gifts. But so back when we started in the early 80s, and at that time, the general manager was Brian Edwards of the radio station. And so I had this fabulous idea that we were going to do something to support the community. And, he gave the go-ahead and even hosted the show for many years. And so and he looked forward to it. And, Robert, back then, there was no such thing as digital, right? It was all analog. And so I would spend weeks, I mean, literally weeks, going through all the LPs and choosing the appropriate Christmas music, and then the show would go for 7 hours. We would go from 9 to 4. Yep. And it was, I don't know, it was just something so special about it then. The school kids would come into the studio because we were, at that time, of course, we had a radio station here in Kitimat. So the kids would come in and record the poetry and, all the customs and traditions of Christmas, things like that. Again, it was all prep work ahead of time. And then on the day off, and Santa always played a major role in that. He would go into the studio, and of course Mrs. Claus had to make sure that he was dressed, because the kids would actually come to the studio And so we always made sure that we had candy cane there and little things for the kids, to give them. And so it was a huge hit with the phone lines would light up and wanted to talk with Santa and share what they wanted for Christmas that year. So yeah, things have changed a bit somewhat.
Those earlier programs, what were some of those kind of go-to favorites that you had for Christmas songs?
The one that comes to mind, I think, was Burl Ives, Holly Jolly Christmas. And, oh gosh, it was all, Bing Crosby. Things that we don't hear so much of anymore, but still all the traditional Christmas music, I think, people loved it. And in fact, I had people have told me that they would wait until my show or then the radio show to do their Christmas baking, because that's what they would do all day long. They would listen to the show and bake, prepare for Christmas. Hey, it was a thing, and they did it annually. So it was, it's all fun. Different now though. Hey.
When was the first year that you did the show solo?
Honest to God, Robert, I don't really remember. It was probably the mid 80s when I started doing it. And the reason that happened was we had a major snowfall that year. And I guess it went on for about a week, and it was snowing like crazy. And Brian called me probably, I don't know if it was earlier in the week or midweek. And he said, I can't get to Kitimat, you're it. So I said, all right. And never looked back. It's been, for many, many years that I've been doing it now. And even when we closed the studio, I still did a current affairs show at that time, once a week. So I would go, into the studio and would still, for a few years after that, I did the show from there. But once the studio or the radio station was sold here in Kitimat, the building, then I moved over to the mall. And again, that was sometime probably the late 80s at that point.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Last year, approximately $25,000 was raised at Kitimat's RCMP Cram the Cruiser event. In this final segment of Open Connection, Green Ball shares how the RCMP, alongside Kyle's No Frills and the Kitimat Food Bank, help those in need.
And then about, I don't know, back maybe 5-6 years ago, I was approached by then, he was the sergeant, Graham Morgan of the RCMP, and said, we've been listening to your show. He said, I really would like to be involved with it, or have the RCMP involved with it. And so I said, oh my goodness, what a great thing to do. And he was suggested that perhaps we should go to a grocery chain and get involved with it rather than doing it in the mall. And so again, another story of that we never looked back. We've been going to Kyle's No Frills. He's been fabulous, and we've raised a lot of money with the support of Kyle's No Frills and the RCMP, and of course couldn't do it without the community support. I certainly would not have been able to do the show firstly without the support of the radio station. And I didn't even know all the names that it's had. We're now Bell Media, and so, but they have been so supportive of that, and of the show, of doing the food bank drive. Not only that, but the community co-host that, so when I took over, I decided that, I didn't want it just about me doing the show. And so I decided to invite community co-hosts, such as the mayor always came on board, At that time, it was Rick Wasney. He was the mayor. So we go back a long ways. The mayor and LCAN of the day, Eric Sykes would come and co-host, and all the major industries took part in it, as well as not only major industry, but the business sector as well as again the citizens of Kitimat. The one thing that I do want to point out, and a big shout out to Jim Ferguson and his family. Jim, again, this past Saturday when we did the show, stopped by with, he is a carpenter, a finished carpenter. And this is the 25th year. So I can tell you I've been doing the show that long for sure, because he I remember the first time when it started that he stopped off with a homemade rocking horse. And then it was a homemade rocking snail for the little ones. And then he started making the baby cradles. And it became a family affair because his mom would go around, buy a doll, and then she would hand quilt for the cradle, the doll's quilt, and make the doll's clothing. And so it became a family affair. And like I said, he just this past Saturday stopped by at No Frills with the rocking horse, with a Lego table, and it's just amazing the work. So it's definitely had an impact on this community.
Kyle at No Frills is kind of, I guess, new to the area, I guess you could say.
He is. He moved to, I think he just celebrated on Saturday past his 6th year. He and his wife, Vanessa, they didn't even have children when they moved here. And what a fabulous community supporter. For whatever reason, he's kind of taken the food bank under his wing. And so it's not, people go hungry all year round. It's not just Christmas time. And so he has been a big supporter. He'll call up Marjorie if he's got a special on or something that he thinks that would bode well for the food bank, and call her up. And just what a dynamic businessman he is, for one so young too.
Is there anything I might have missed that you'd like to add?
Without the support of the as I say, with the community, and I simply cannot say enough good things about how supportive Bell Media have been, back from when it was Skeena Broadcasters to where it is now. And that's it. It's about people coming together to take care of our own. And I can tell you that Kitimat, Terrace, and people in the north overall, they are second to none. They take care of what needs to be taken care of.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our mystery within. I'm Robert Pictou.